Manufacturers distribute toluene diisocyanate, commonly called TDI, in a variety of packages, including drums and intermediate bulk containers. In this section, we will discuss the recommended procedures for handling drums and intermediate bulk containers of toluene diisocyanate. This will include receiving drum and intermediate bulk container deliveries, regulatory information, the personal protective equipment required during transfer operations, and the proper way of discarding empty containers. The receiving, handling, and shipment of TDI require compliance with federal, state, and local regulations concerning hazardous materials. Make sure you know these regulations and follow them at all times. When the truck arrives, all paperwork should be checked for accuracy. Verify the purchase order number and ensure the proper material and correct number of containers have been received. Once paperwork is verified, check the trailer hazard placards. Make sure they are correct for the product noted on the shipping documents. The U.S. Department of Transportation, DOT, regulates the transportation of toluene diisocyanate. Although there are various regulations covering the shipment of TDI, it will be classified UN 2078, toluene diisocyanate, Class 6.1, Packing Group 2. The letters RQ will be entered either before or after the description of the shipment when individual packages contain 100 pounds or more of TDI. The toxic placard with the UN marking 2078 displayed is the required placard for shipments of this material. TDI containers must have the required labels or placards applied. The storage and handling of TDI at your facility may be subject to other federal, state, and local regulations. When you have checked the security seals against the paperwork, break the seals and open the doors of the trailer. Use caution when opening the doors as items may have shifted during transportation. Assist the driver in positioning the trailer at the dock. Make sure that the driver has set the emergency brake on the truck once it is in position. Wheel chocks should be placed under the tires of the trailer, as well as the rear tires of the truck, to prevent movement in either direction. Once the paperwork and trailer checks are complete, the containers are ready to be unloaded. When forklifts are used to unload drums, they should be adapted with the proper drum handling apparatus in order to move the drums. Never use the forks to pick up a drum by the chimes. And never try unloading a trailer without using the proper equipment and techniques. Make sure that the name on the container labels matches the name on the shipping documents. And confirm that no containers are leaking. All these checks may seem unnecessary because the operation is routine, but taking these precautions every time will ensure that you have received the correct product. Drums used to transport TDI should be made of metal with tight head construction. Open-top drums are not recommended. Intermediate bulk containers can be made of metal. Drums can be stored on their chimes or on pallets. However, they should never be stacked more than 3 high. In order to avoid contact or exposure to TDI, appropriate personal protective equipment must be worn during transfer operations. For TDI, this includes chemical splash goggles and chemical-resistant gloves. If local ventilation is used, best industry practice requires that any discharged vapors be absorbed or scrubbed free of TDI before being discharged to the atmosphere. When transferring TDI without adequate ventilation, a full-face air-supplied respirator is required. The preferred way to dispose of empty TDI drums is to contract with an approved drum reconditioner. If you need help in locating an approved drum reconditioner, contact the product manufacturer. If you do not use the services of a drum reconditioner, make sure you neutralize any residual product or cling, puncture the drums so they cannot be reused, and remove the product label. Containers with even a little moisture, water, or any foreign substance must not be refilled. Reaction between TDI and water will slowly emit carbon dioxide gas, and in a closed container like a drum, could cause a violent rupture. Whenever you suspect that a reaction is taking place inside a sealed container, you should isolate the area immediately and contact the manufacturer or the shipper for assistance. In this section, we have discussed the recommended procedures for handling drums and intermediate bulk containers containing toluene diisocyanate. This included receiving drum and intermediate bulk container deliveries, regulatory information, the personal protective equipment required during transfer operations, and the proper way of discarding empty containers. If you have any further questions or are unsure of the actions required of you, ask your supervisor or team leader or contact the product manufacturer. For more information on the topics covered in this section, consult the following literature developed by the Center for the Polyurethanes Industry: Model Respiratory Protection Program, Melting Toluene Diisocyanates TDI in Drums, TDI User Guidelines for Protective Clothing Selection, TDI Transportation Guidelines, Working with TDI, What You Should Know.